Hello folks and welcome to Paddock Pass, your post-Grand Prix edition for the 2019 French Grand Prix here at Circuit Paul Ricard. Mercedes in the ascendancy, Mercedes on the front row, and a 50th 1-2 finish for Mercedes in Formula One. Lewis Hamilton, completely unstoppable, if we're being honest, raised his level once again and never looked troubled. Actually looked troubled like he was troubling himself, actually. Very early on, a massive twitch from his car showed just how hard he was pushing and continued to push throughout the race to beat his teammate Valtteri Bottas into second. Charles Leclerc came home third, pretty much as you were from the grid. Pretty much as you were for quite a few of the places, actually, today, but some excitement towards the end. And in the middle, Daniel Ricciardo with a great race, making up positions. And also Nico Hülkenberg, his teammate, Kimi Raikkonen, fighting through to score great points at the end. A resurgent McLaren, a double point scorer today as well. So let's get all of the reaction from the drivers, and let's start with the top three. Lewis Hamilton, your race winner. Valtteri Bottas in P2, and Charles Leclerc coming home third.
Wowza. Was there any moment of that race that was tricky for you?
Yeah, freaking heck. Did it just look easy? I've been sweating so much. The start is a nightmare. Like, your heart is in your mouth, but I had a good start. The first lap was very tricky, a couple of mistakes, and I think the first few laps were a little bit hairy. The tires, for some reason, felt odd, weren't working very well, and then eventually I caught my balance, and then I was good. And then I started eking away at it. So, and then I kept pushing. There was never a point that I backed off and let the gap stay it is. I just kept on trying to eke it out and trying to improve my lap every single time I had
Well, then you're a magician, because it looked very easy. Most drivers go away from a race, I assume, with homework to do for the next round. What does Lewis Hamilton have to work on?
I always have homework. I can always get better. I can always improve. We can always improve. So when I go back now, we have a meeting, and then it'll be constructive criticism. It won't be, hey guys, it was the best day ever, thanks so much, see ya. It'll be, guys, this could be better, you should do this better, I could do this better. If we did this, we changed this in the car, we could probably find more performance. It never stops evolving, and that's my goal, is to keep pushing the guys. And yeah.
Valtteri, what was missing in your toolbox today to be able to get Lewis?
Just a bit of pace, I think, compared to Lewis. He was quick today, and from my side I was trying everything I could, but he was efficient on the tires and at the same time quick. So when I was trying hard in the beginning to keep up, my tires were just falling into pieces. So especially the front tires, and similar thing in the last tire set. So at the end I had no front tires left. So something to have a look.
Was that the only reason Charles Leclerc was able to put pressure on you, or do you think it was actually a pace thing as well?
For sure, we were a bit concerned about blistering we had on the front tires, so I had to back off more than I wanted. So for sure, there was still a bit of margin, but also we wanted to be on the safe side and make it to the end.
Pleased to be on the podium in the position you are, or do you think a second place was just totally out of the question today?
Nah, today I think it was too difficult to do anything better. Of course it was close to Valtteri, but on our side I think we maximized everything, strategy, the way we managed the tires to push towards the end, so everything felt very good.
Ominous then from Lewis Hamilton that they've got work to do, homework to do, and that they will not stop pushing that envelope. Yeah, the team that already has that huge advantage. What can they achieve? Can they have the perfect year? That's what they're gunning for. Would be astonishing. To Red Bull Racing, Max Verstappen again split the Ferraris today. A great drive from him, a great weekend from him. But you've got to say, only one side of that garage is consistently delivering at the moment. Pierre Gasly qualified 0.6 off his teammate. That was one thing. The second thing, in the race today, Gasly was ahead of Daniel Ricciardo up to the pit stops. After the pit stops, ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo passed him and finished 7th. Gasly finished P11. Those question marks, which we have been stating for a number of races now, about will Gasly get switched out, are only going to be louder after his home Grand Prix, and it's a massive shame because we know how good Gasly is. He's got to unlock that part of him that we know is capable of bringing home better results than he's currently bringing home. Obviously, it's Red Bull's home race next time out in Austria. Let's talk to Max Verstappen, though, on another great day, another great result for him.
Max, talking about the magic throttle pedal, all of that sort of thing, not able to challenge for a podium spot today. What was holding you back?
Not enough grip and not enough top speed. So, I think you could clearly see in lap 1 we are lacking a bit too much to really be competitive. But again, we maximized the result. I tried to follow Charles, but I think it took a bit too much out of my tires to try and match their lap times. But all in all, I think still a good weekend.
It hadn't been a great qualifying for Sebastian Vettel. He'd just lost his feel with the car into Q3 and so started the Grand Prix from 7th. Had the 2 McLarens ahead of him, which he, I'm not going to say promptly because it wasn't promptly, it took him a little while, but he made his way past both of them into 5th spot. Never really looked like he was going to challenge Max Verstappen for 4th, with a huge gap back to the McLarens, though he was able to take a pit stop on the penultimate lap and record the fastest lap of the race.
Sebastian, how close were you to achieving the objectives you set out to achieve today?
Well, we failed. I think we wanted to close the gap to Mercedes by a decent amount, and we didn't. So in that regard, we have to be honest, we failed. But I think nevertheless, we tried everything we could. I think Charles' podium is at least a little bit of a, how can I say, how do you say?
A little bit of relief, or a little bit of
like a sweet, like a, well, not really either, but
a softener,
a little
sweetener.
bit of a satisfaction. But as I said, the big objective was to come here and close the gaps, but we had to unfortunately learn that our parts weren't working the way we expected them to.
And in terms of the fastest lap, was that your choice to go for that, or something you'd already discussed with the team?
It's pretty clear. I mean, it's a no-brainer. So obviously, if anybody in the field has the gap to the car behind, then you go for that in the very end to try and go for that final point.
What a day and what a race for McLaren. It's all starting to come good for them. After a brilliant qualifying session, they came home in the race 6th and very nearly 7th. They held those places for pretty much the whole contest, and it's only on the last lap that Lando Norris lost that 7th place and eventually finished in 10th. But such a promising race, such a promising weekend for McLaren, and a lot to be happy about for them. 6th place for Carlos Sainz in a car which he admitted was the 4th fastest. So 4th fastest car coming home 6th. A great result. Lando in 10th after a very, very strong weekend.
Carlos, a good day, I feel. Oh, yeah, quite noisy. How was that? It looked like it was fun out there and also coming home with some big points.
It was actually a bit boring out there because we were leading the best of the rest, and we were actually the 4th fastest to their car, which is really good news after a really good start. And from there we just cruised to the finish and controlled the race, controlled the tires, and quite happy.
Well, that was disappointing to watch. I can imagine it was disappointing to be in the cockpit.
It was. I'd say it wasn't the most exciting race. Pretty much the whole thing for me. The exciting bit was obviously a bit towards the end, when I had to start defending and doing some more battling and whatever. But the whole of the start, middle, and almost towards the end was just managing tyres and making sure we stayed in position. Because there was nothing worth risking between Carlos and myself and destroying the tyres for no reason. So we did what we needed to do, and obviously for Carlos it worked out great, but something got to my car in the end, which didn't allow me to get to where we deserved to finish, I think, this weekend. So because of that, a bit frustrating.
And do you know why that problem occurred?
No. Well, hydraulics, but I don't know what happened. So.
Nico Hülkenberg leaves after a pretty exciting end to his race. On the very last lap, Lando Norris hanging on to his tyres in the McLaren, sitting in P7. By the end of the lap, he would sit in P10 because he was passed by both Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hülkenberg and Kimi Raikkonen. Let's talk to the 2 Renault drivers. I should mention, incidentally, they have been called to see the stewards over that last lap. I'm not sure why. Maybe Daniel sort of went all 4 off at one point on the run up to scene. One hopes there's no change in position. Personally, I thought it was a good fun battle at the end there. Anyway, we wait to see. and you know me, I am usually quite a stickler for track limits. Who knows? Anyway, at the moment, at the time of filming, it is P7 and P9 for Renault at the French Grand Prix.
Daniel, talk me through your race, talk me through some of the moments you had, people wondering whether it was the right thing, the wrong thing to be slightly off track.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, when the track's so wide, you got to try and improvise a little. So, yeah, it was fun last lap. To be honest, whatever happens, I don't really care. I think it was fun, and it's better to have a fight and see what happens than just to sit behind and be a loser. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
It shows you've got the car to do that sort of attacking though.
Yeah, it was. It's on the edge. And every time I come in to brake late, I'm kind of just pulling it up. But it is improving for sure, and certainly getting more confidence than the start of the year with it. So it's coming. I think generally the race pace was okay. Just I was a bit filthy myself on the start. I actually had a really good launch, and then I went for the inside and just was way too conservative, thinking everyone would kind of go deep and wide. But I was just too conservative on that front, so I lost out and kind of made hard work for the rest of the race.
How was that then, Nico?
I had too much traffic, like on the road, basically, like driving through Monaco, just cars everywhere, bloody frustrating. Yeah, I know the Alfa inside out now, because I spent the whole race long looking at Kimi's gearbox.
Got a few ideas, or are you going to avoid them?
Sorry?
You're going to avoid those kind of ideas, the gearbox from the Alfa Romeo, or are you taking them back to Renault?
Yeah, you always copy the good stuff and leave the bad stuff aside. But joking apart, it was a bit of a shame, but coming from 13, it was to somewhat expected. The annoying bit is I had him on lap 1, but it got a bit tight with Daniel, because I think he had a poor start, and I needed to avoid some contact with him, and therefore I lost the position with Kimi again. So it could have been a whole different scenario, but as it was, I couldn't get by him. We couldn't overcut him. So yeah. But on the good side, both cars and the points again, we had really good pace, beat one of the McLarens, and onwards and upwards.
So to Alfa Romeo and to Kimi Raikkonen, P8 today after that fantastic last lap battle and pass and wonderfulness with the Renaults. Good rewards, I think, for Alfa Romeo at the end of the weekend. A tough one for Antonio Giovinazzi. Had qualified in the top 10, was really hopeful of points, but the problem was he had to start the race on the soft tyre, and when they hit the cliff, he just dropped, and from that point on his afternoon got very, very difficult. Kimi with a great strategy made it work, and P8 rich reward at the end of the race.
Hi Kimi, talk us through your race today, please.
Not too bad. I think on the start I made a small mistake off the line, but then luckily I didn't lose too much, and then I could fight back on the next few corners. So I think we were in a strong position after the start with the hard tires, and then we had to hold one of the Renaults back on the beginning of the race until the half point, and then in the end there was quite a intense battle in the last lap. So yeah, it was fun on that side for sure.
Not an easy weekend for Racing Point. Quali never quite had the pace, and in the race today a difficult one as well. Came home 12th and 13th, but Sergio Perez not happy. In the driver's briefing, they were told that if you're forced off track on the opening lap or through that sort of turn 2-3 segment, you have to stay well to the left, where the track kind of starts again, pull in around the bollard and come back on. That's exactly what he did. But in so doing, because of everybody else bunching up, he sort of made up a couple of positions. He was given a 5-second in-race penalty and a penalty point on his licence, something which he doesn't understand.
Checo, talk us through that first lap, whether you think the penalty was justified, and the rest of the race as you saw it.
I have to look at it properly, but I think I did what I'm supposed to do, to go around the bollard and come back on track. And whether or not I gain an advantage, for me it's impossible to judge. It's lap 1, so many cars around. You are supposed to go slower, quite a bit slower today, and that's what the rule was meant for, that you go around the bollard and so you don't gain an advantage, but apparently I did gain. So I think we just have to review and see if what went wrong, because I think the rule is just wrong.
The F3 driver this weekend, who had the same issue, had the penalty taken away. So is that something you're hoping might happen?
My race is already ruined, so what can I say?
Lance, quali might be tricky, but race trim is better for you. Do you feel it was a good race today?
Yeah, I do. I think it could have been better. We were on for a good strategy on the first stint. And I think we were in a pretty good position to fit the medium set and attack some drivers at the end, Perez and Gasly in front. Unfortunately, I think we stopped a little bit too late. Because I was losing quite a bit of time in the last 2-3 laps on the mediums, on the hards in the first stint, and then I felt like I had some life left on the mediums to attack. So I would have liked to stop a bit earlier, but at the end it was a good effort, good team effort, and I think it was a good race. So we'll come back in Austria and give it another shot.
P14, P15 for Toro Rosso today. Yannick Fiat with the new engine in the back of his car, Alex Albon without. And the two of them actually were fairly closely matched throughout the race itself. Good little battle actually between them towards the end of it, but no points returned. A frustrating weekend for Toro Rosso.
Danny, how do you reflect on today? Good or bad day in the office?
I think all in all it was a good day, because I did the best I could. I think I squeezed, because lately it was usually I was doing squeezed everything out of the car, and it's pleasant. But the problem today, maximum of the car was a little bit outside of the points. I don't know how the race would be for us if we started a little bit ahead, but maybe our pace wasn't as good here for the points. But we'll try to go for next race to try and score the points.
Not a great day for Haas. Romain Grosjean, the only retirement of the race. Kevin Magnussen way out of the points and never looked like being in contention for the points either. They've got a fast car over one lap, we know that. After qualifying yesterday, Kevin said he hoped that their lack of pace in qualifying showed a turnaround in the car's fortunes and that he would sacrifice one lap pace if it meant that he had race pace. It looks like they now have neither.
Kevin, was that what you were expecting today?
No.
What had you hoped for, and where were you lacking?
I think after Friday we were thinking that qualifying would be difficult, but the race would be strong. Unfortunately, it wasn't the case, so taken by surprise again.
And so to Williams, the last two classified finishers. Again, finishers, both cars making it to the end, and so more data accrued, more knowledge accrued, importantly. Interesting battle between George Russell and Robert Kubica in the contest itself. George ended up going through the polystyrene board and had to come in and change his front wing, so lost a lot of time in that process. Robert Kubica kept his head down, got on with the program, finished ahead of George at the checkered flag. It was always going to be a frustrating and difficult weekend for Williams, and so it proved.
Robert, it's tough out there, but did you enjoy your little battle with George?
Fighting.
He said he enjoyed his battle with you.
Yeah, but fighting for last and before last. Let's say I have been racing in Formula 1 much higher, so it's always better to stay in touch with at least someone. At least the race pass by quicker. And it's good, for experience, for bit of hope. Hopefully when the car will get better, this will pay off, bit of fight, bit of following, what the car is doing, how much you are losing downforce in the corners, so it's a bit of experience which definitely I gain, and hopefully it will pay off in the future.
So that's your lot from Paddock Pass. I've only just noticed I've got dirt on my trousers, but it's not dirt, it's actually, there you go, rubber. It's rubber off the track. I knelt down stupidly on the start-finish straight on the grid before the race started. The bits of the marbles from all the running this weekend melted into the track surface and were molten. You could actually just squidge them with your finger. That shows how hot the track conditions were this weekend and how much it affected everybody. It promises to be even hotter next week in Austria. Rumours that it could be up to about 40 degrees centigrade there. It is going to be stinking hot. Anyway, that was the French Grand Prix. Austria in a few days' time. Join us there. We'll see you soon.